All right, welcome back to the Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthew. I'm here again at Brothers Bar and Grill in the shops in Northfield. Come on over and check us out. We're in the mezzanine section. We are here watching the Syracuse Notre Dame game. It's not going too well for us Orange fans. Notre Dame scored a late touchdown to end the first half, and they are now up by 2 touchdowns. So the Dome has, capacity crowd. It's the first sellout since 1998, and they show some crowd shots, and there's not a lot of happy people at the Dome today. What we're going to do today is kind of go through some of the featured college games. We're going to talk about the top 25 in college football. Also, too, this is our kickoff date for college hockey. We have 4 games that we're going to feature, telling you just kind of briefly what happened. There were some major upsets last night. We'll also talk about the top 20 in college hockey, where we see St. Cloud State, who's number 2, lost a tough game to Bemidji of Minnesota. And Seth's not very happy about that. Remember, he is a St. Cloud State alumni. We're also going to go and talk about a couple different NFL games, not really get into too much detail unless Seth is able to come up and join me. He is just swamped today. He's down a bartender, so he's having to cover for that. So I don't know if he'll make it up here. He feels bad, folks, but look for him for next week if he doesn't make it up today. Lastly, I'm going to cover a little bit about University of Denver, DU, women's soccer. Okay, they are in the finals, the semifinals, I should say, in the Summit League Championship, and they will be facing against the team Oral Roberts on Sunday. And we'll talk a little bit about what's in store for them and what kind of season, because their season has been basically, a tale of 2 different teams per se. At one point in time, they were 3-3-2, and they've been on a tear as of late and have won 8 games out of their last 10 games with 2 other ties, which puts them in the number 1 position in the Summit League. They won the regular season. All right, so let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about the games that were Thursday night games. There were 2 of them. And we had Virginia Tech versus NC State. Remember, NC State came off that really tough loss to Syracuse. What a game this was. 22-21, NC State edges them out at the end. At the half, it was really a boring first half. It was 3-zip, NC State. And then in the third quarter, Virginia Tech scored 21 points. And then in the fourth quarter, NC State kicks in 12 and ends up pulling out the 1-point victory. The quarterback for NC State, MJ Morris, 20 of 29, 265 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Thomas, the receiver for NC State, had 10 receptions for 118 yards. So good game, good Thursday night game. The second game on Thursday night was number 14 Utah at Washington State. And I really thought Washington State could pull it out because you've heard the last couple shows, I don't have a whole lot of respect for Utah. But Utah ended up pulling it out 21-17. It was 14-7 at the half. Utah was up. And a late surge by Washington State was not enough. They had 10 points. It was just not enough to get past Utah. So Utah survives. Remember, they're ranked number 2. They're a 2-loss team that's ranked number 14 right now. Some of our featured games today. One of the games that's on right now, I've already alluded to, is the Syracuse Notre Dame game. That's a 10 o'clock start here on the Mountain West time zone. Syracuse does not look good. They look flat. The Dome, is just ready to go, and they just they're laying an egg right now. So hopefully, the coach Babers will get these guys ready for the second half. Such a big game for Syracuse. They only dropped 2 spots from the 14 ranking and lost a close game to Clemson by 7 points last week. Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Missouri, versus South Carolina. Tennessee, Texas will be the games that we feature for college football. And now, of course, we'll go into the 4 games for the college hockey and talk about that as well. All right, let's go in and talk about the top 25 right now. Not a whole lot changed. The first 6 positions were the same as last week, and that is UGA, Ohio State, Tennessee, Michigan is number 4, Clemson is 5, and Bama is 6. Number 7 is TCU, still undefeated. They are up 1 spot. Oregon jumped because of their big victory over UCLA. Bo Nix has Oregon in the top 10, after that horrible loss to Georgia in week 1. Oklahoma State's number 9. USC is 10. Wake Forest up 3 spots to 11. That's the highest we've seen Wake Forest rank in a long time. UCLA dropped 3 spots to 12. Penn State is up three spots. They are at 13. Utah, again, we talked about that already. They're at 14. Ole Miss lost 8 spots. They're down to 15. Syracuse is in at 16. Illinois, folks, Illinois is for real. They are tough, and they are right now at 17. That's the highest Illinois has been ranked probably in the last 2 decades. LSU is 18, Kentucky 19, Cincinnati 20, University of North Carolina is at 21, K-State 22, Tulane is up 2 spots to 23, NC State fell to 24, and guess who's in number 25 spot, breaking into the top 25 for the first time in probably 6 or 7 years, the University of South Carolina Gamecocks. So we'll be talking a little bit about their game today. Missouri comes to Williams-Brice Stadium, and we should have a pretty interesting matchup, and it's a later game this evening. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Syracuse game. Again, like I said, I will be giving you updates as it goes on. I got the TV on right over here, and we'll be watching really closely as this third quarter progresses to see if Syracuse can get back into this ball game. Schrader just looks horrible. He has no mobility in the pocket, and it's just, poor decision making. He's throwing bounce passes, folks, which is not something you want to see in football. D-line is thin. Syracuse gave up 300 yards rushing against Clemson last week, and we are underway here in the third quarter. Syracuse kicked off, so Notre Dame will have their offense on the field for the first series of the third quarter. Notre Dame needs their rushing game to work, and so far it looks like it has been. Syracuse's defense is really strong in the secondary. They haven't given up a single passing touchdown this season, which is really something. So we're going to have to see if they've made any adjustments. Again, like I said, we'll be coming back to this game. Right now, 21-7 Notre Dame. The over-under is 47.5 points for this game. Syracuse is favored by 3 points. Second game we've got today to feature is Ohio State versus Penn State. Ohio State 7-0 is ranked second. Penn State 6-1. They lost to Michigan, and they're at 13. Now, on paper, you'd think this game is going to be awesome. You'd say, wow, this is a great matchup. But Vegas has this at actually it's a 15.5 point spread favoring Ohio State. So really, when you look at it on paper, they're very close to looking like they're going to have a good game. But Vegas knows differently. They're giving Ohio State basically 15.5 points. It's a big line, man. It's huge. The over and under in this game is 61. So we'll be watching this game. It comes on at 1:30 our time. And, come on down to Brothers Bar and Grill and watch the games with us today. We're here, the shops of Northfield. It's a beautiful day. We have the patio is open, and the TVs are on, and it seems a little quiet, but it's a little bit of a slow start on this Saturday. But come on down; it's going to get busier especially with these afternoon games. Third featured game is Oklahoma State versus Kansas State. Oklahoma State's ranked 9th, Kansas State is 22nd. Both of these teams lost to TCU, who is still undefeated. TCU is having one heck of a season. So we'll have to see. This is kind of a game that's for second place right now in the Big 12. And it could be really come down to, an old-fashioned Big 12 shootout. And a lot is going to depend on whether or not K-State's quarterback, Adrian Martinez, plays. He is a game-time decision, and we have not had any announcement either way as of yet. That is going to be a huge determining factor, and it's probably right now why the line on this game is 1.5 points. Oklahoma State is favored. The over-under is 55.5 points. But watch with the game-time decision if this line moves at all. If Martinez doesn't play, the line could go as high as 3.5. So it's a good time to place a bet right now if you're trying to do that. So, Missouri versus South Carolina. Missouri is 3-4, but they have lost 4 games by really a total of 14 points. And they play each team tough, and I just hope that my Gamecocks are ready because this is a huge game for South Carolina. They really need to win it and possibly move up into the top 20 in the college rankings, which would be something great. Plus, also, South Carolina, if they win, it'll be their 6th win, which makes them bowl eligible, which is a big deal. They were bowl eligible last year. They finished 6-6. And that extra month of being able to practice, and also when you have recruits and stuff, going to a bowl game is a huge thing, and it helps with the recruiting. It helps with your team's cohesion. It's just something that's great, and it looks like South Carolina will definitely have a bowl game, and we just hope that they can finish the season strong. So 4 straight wins for South Carolina. Mizzou has lost, again, like we said, they have lost 3 games, but it's by only a total of 14 points. South Carolina is healthy. Again, they don't have a whole heck of a lot of depth, so they have to stay healthy. South Carolina is a 3.5 point favorite. The over and under is 45.5 points. They don't think it's going to be a very high scoring game in Williams-Brice today. All right, just a little update on Syracuse. Looks like Notre Dame has just completed a pass. They are down within the 5 yards. Actually, no, he did. He dropped it. They're calling it no good. So Notre Dame is on the Syracuse 40, and it looks like a 3rd down conversion. It's not going to work out, and either they'll go for it because they're kind of in that range where you can kick a field goal, or you could actually go for it because they're on the Syracuse 40. We'll wait and see what happens here. All right, the other game that we're going to talk about is a huge game in the state of Kentucky. It is KU versus Tennessee. Tennessee is ranked 3rd. KU has only won once in Knoxville since 1985. Folks, that's when I graduated high school. It's a long time ago. Almost 40 years ago. So, and just for you guys to keep it up here with the Syracuse game, Notre Dame just punted, and Syracuse will take over inside their own 10-yard line. Tennessee, the kind of cool thing is that KU's coach is Mark Stoops. He's in his 10th season at Lexington. And Tennessee's coach, Josh Heupel, played for his brother and won a national championship at Oklahoma back in 2000. So that's kind of an interesting dynamics. Again, Kentucky was ranked as high as 7. They lost to my Gamecocks. They're having a little bit of trouble, right now. They've lost 2 games. Tennessee is favored by 11.5 points. The over and under is 61. So this should be a good game. This is a 7 o'clock Eastern Standard start. Mountain West, we will watch this at 5 o'clock today. Great game for us to kind of cap off your Saturday. College hockey. Let's talk a little bit about it. We're not going to get into the detail that I wanted to today, only because I really just love Seth's analysis, and that was what he was all geared up to kind of share today, that and the NFL. But basically, the top 20 goes, I'm going to just talk to you about the top 10, and then we'll talk a little bit about Cornell, and they're playing Minnesota Duluth in a 2-game series in Duluth, and they are both 19 and 20 respectively, Cornell being 20th. Number 1 in the country, the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Always tough. The state of Minnesota has the best hockey in the nation. And it's amazing that Seth was mentioning to me that almost every Division I program in Minnesota, minus Bemidji, and Bemidji just beat St. Cloud State, but every single one of those Division I hockey programs is ranked in the top 20. That's really something. And I think there's 6 schools. So that is just dominance by a state in a sport that, that's pretty much what they do in Minnesota, is play hockey. So we've got Minnesota Golden Gophers number 1, St. Cloud State is number 2, DU is number 3. They won last night. We'll talk a little bit about that. They beat Miami of Ohio 4-0. Michigan's number 4, UMass number 5, North Dakota is 6, Quinnipiac is 7, and Minnesota State Mankato is 8, Boston University 9, and UConn is 10. So that kind of just gives you an idea. And again, it's very early in the season, so these rankings will change considerably based upon the results that are forthcoming in the next couple games and stuff. So, but we'll be watching closely. Definitely be watching DU, Syracuse, St. Cloud State. Those are, I should say, DU, Cornell, and St. Cloud State. Those are our teams that we really follow closely. We'll be watching a little bit of Air Force and some of our local teams, Colorado College as well. They had a pretty good game too, Air Force, and that's going to be the first game that we feature today. Air Force versus Colorado College. Didn't work out very well for Air Force. They got beat 8-0. Okay, so in hockey terms, that is a beat down. So if you compare it in football, it'd be like being beaten 63-0. And it was just completely dominated by Colorado College. 33 shots on goal. Air Force didn't do too badly. They had 14 shots on goal in the third period. Didn't produce anything. CC's goalie was just on fire last night and records a shutout. Second game, Cornell played in Minnesota Duluth. My friend Scott Howard, I got some really good inside information about how the team played, but they took the loss really hard. It was their first game of the season. It's a big disadvantage to some of these Eastern schools that just don't play as many games as the Midwestern teams. Duluth had 6 games in already. That's a huge advantage. I remember playing college basketball, and we played a couple teams when it was our first year, our first game of the season, and they had played 2 or 3 games in maybe a tournament or something, and they had such an advantage over us because you're still working out the kinks in those first 2 or 3 ball games. So hopefully Cornell will come back and they can end up getting a split and head back to Ithaca, with 1-1 record opposed to an 0-2 record if they get swept. Again, Cornell had 36 shots on goal. Duluth had 34. The game was 3-2, Minnesota Duluth winning. Number 3, again, this is Seth's team, St. Cloud State, and they played against Bemidji. And Bemidji's a small school in northern Minnesota. Didn't work out so well for St. Cloud State. They were beaten 3-1. It looks like St. Cloud came out really well in the first quarter, the first period, I should say, and they had a 1-goal lead with 8 shots, just never scored again. And Bemidji ended up scoring 2 goals in the second and 1 in the third. Shots on goal, Bemidji had 28 shots on goal. St. Cloud State, only 18 shots. Folks, you know that if you're over 30 shots or you get up close to 35, 40 shots, that just gives you a statistical advantage for scoring. You got to have shots on goal in order to score goals. And these college goalies are tough. So, 18 shots on goal is just not cutting it. It looks like they had a total letdown. And it'll be interesting to watch what happens tonight. We're trying to get that game here at Brothers tonight. So if you're interested in watching some college hockey, come on down and check us out. All right, our last game is, of course, our hometown team here, University of Denver, DU, and they played against Miami of Ohio, Ben Roethlisberger's old school, and the game was 4-zip, completely dominated by Denver. Denver had 12 shots on goal in the first quarter, took a 1-0 lead, and ended up with 37 total shots. Now look at the difference between that and St. Cloud State. 37 shots for DU. They scored 4 goals and shut out Miami of Ohio, who, traditionally speaking, in the HCNC, Miami of Ohio is always the bottom feeder. So it was a really nice way for DU to open the season and to play, a road game in Miami and a big win. So we'll watch for them again tonight. Hopefully they get the sweep. All right. And Syracuse is still 21-7 with 9 minutes left. It looks like Syracuse has the ball, but they're deep in their own territory trying to get out of that. So NFL featured games, I'm just going to kind of go through some of the ones because Seth was going to cover more of this stuff, but we have the Arizona Cardinals at 3-4 versus Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Minnesota Vikings are 5-1 this year, folks. They're coming off of a bye. Their injuries are minimal. They're rested, and they are favored by 3.5 points. The over-under in this game is 49.5 points. Injuries, the Cardinals have a couple sustained injuries, one being the running back, James Conner. He is out, so we'll see how much that affects their running game. Again, Arizona passes the ball so much, they're not really going to be missing James Conner, except for possibly some, bailout, little screens, and of course his blocking during pass protection. Broncos are playing a game. Folks, if you get a chance tomorrow morning, wake up. It starts at 7:30 our time, 9:30 on the East Coast. They will be in London playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Broncos are 2-5, and the Jags are 2-5. So it'll be interesting to see if Trevor Lawrence can pull out a victory. The Broncos, there's just huge murmurs here, rumors flying all over the city about Hackett going to be fired. They may try to trade Chubb. I'm not exactly sure, but the people here in Denver, and this is the problem, they set their expectations so high, and they thought that Russell Wilson was going to come in and just be the savior. And, Russell Wilson has missed the last 2 games with hamstrings injuries. The Broncos just don't look good. They're not making good decisions. Their clock management is poor. The fans are actually counting down the play clock at home games to try and help the offense because they had too many delayed game penalties. So everything is really just, is out of whack here in Denver. And it's going to be interesting with this new ownership and the deep pockets they have. How patient will they be? I know one thing, the Denver Bronco fans are not patient at all and expected a team to be, 5-2 at this point. If their offense wasn't so crappy, they probably would have won 3 or 4 more games. But, their defense is really strong and their offense is just non-existent. So, anyways, tomorrow we'll watch this game. Jaguars are favored by 2.5 points. The over and under is 40.5 points. Steelers versus Eagles, the Battle of Pennsylvania. We have the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. The Steelers will be traveling to the city of non-brotherly love, Philadelphia, to play this game. It's a double-digit spread. The Eagles are favored by 10.5 points. The over and under is 48.5. I keep waiting for my Steelers to click in. I knew this was going to be a rough year for us, and this is again just managing expectations. We're 2-5, and you talk to Steeler fans, we're not upset like the Bronco fans are at 2-5. We knew this year was going to be a rough year without Ben, with Ben retiring. And, just on paper, we're in a total rebuilding phase. So, I always tell people, I'm like, hey, the Steelers, we knew that this was going to happen. You take your medicine and you just keep cheering. And you don't try to be critical and think that your team's going to make the playoffs. I got news for you, Broncos fan. Your team is not going to make the playoffs this year, okay? Unless something just happens in the second half of the season where they go on a tear and they go 6-2 in the last 8 games. And we have 9 games, of course, this year because we have 17 total games. But say they go 7-2, then maybe they can make the playoffs. I know that the Steelers are probably a foregone conclusion. They will not make the playoffs. And, the way I look at it is maybe we'll get a couple good draft picks. Unfortunately for the Broncos, they gave away their first and second round draft pick for the next 2 seasons and a 4th round. They also gave up Noah Fant, a great tight end who could really be helping the Broncos right now, and Drew Lock, which of course is going to be destined to second-string quarterback for the rest of his career. The 49ers-Rams, the Battle of California. 49ers are 3-4. The Rams are 3-3. Shanahan versus McVay, 2 of the premier coaches in the NFL. McCaffrey is playing now for the 49ers. He's had a full week of practice. So it's going to be interesting to see how much load Christian McCaffrey can carry, especially because Deebo Samuel, University of South Carolina's finest, is out with a hamstring injury. Will Christian McCaffrey have a breakout performance? We'll be watching closely to see. 49ers are a 1.5 point game, 1.5 point favorite. The over and under is 41.5 points. Okay, so let's move on to our women's soccer portion and talk just a little bit about University of Denver's women's soccer team. And we refer to them here in Denver as DU. They are 11-4 and 3 ties. So 11-4 and 3 is their record. Their conference record is outstanding. They're 8-0 and 1. The one tie is against North Dakota State. North Dakota State is the second place team. They played them to a tie on September 30th. And it's looking like this could be the final. It could be DU versus North Dakota State for the Summit Championship. Again, we said that the DU ladies got out to a rough start. They were 2-2 and 2 after their first 6 games. They then went up and they beat CSU, turned back around, played against CU, lost to CU. Now they're 3-3 and 2, and this is when things turned around for this program and for this team. And they went 8-0 and 2 for their last 10 games. And that 8-0 and 2 was most of the Horizon League games, which gave them a conference record that's so strong, which we mentioned earlier, which is 8-0 and 1 tie. So last night in DU, down at DU, Oral Roberts played North Dakota, and Oral Roberts beat. So Denver plays the winner, which is Oral Roberts, on Sunday. So folks, if you're here in Denver, in the Denver area, go on down to DU's campus. The soccer field is right there, right off of Iliff and Evans. And go ahead and watch some real high-quality women's soccer. The winner will play against the winner of South Dakota and Omaha. And they play tomorrow, and we'll find out who the championship will be on November 5th, next weekend. There's 2 different ladies I want to feature. One is Devin McSwain. She is the Defensive Player of the Year again this year. So she's won it twice in a row. She's a graduate student, so she's a little bit older. And of course, with the COVID year, we're getting a lot of these graduate students playing out, because you get an extra year of eligibility. The other person is Sammy Feller. She is the midfielder of the year, and this is the second year in a row for her to receive this award. The coach, Jeff Hooker, he is the coach of the year in the Horizon League, and this is the 5th time he has been the coach of the year. Let me just read a little things. This is the bio on these two ladies, and we'll start with McSwain. So McSwain defended her 2021 Defensive Player of the Year award by playing the full 90 minutes in every match this season, the only Pioneer to do so. And she added a goal and assist at Oral Roberts. She has helped the DU program to a record-tying 0 shots on goal allowed on August 18th, as well as only 2 goals allowed at home in the regular season. This is the 3rd year McSwain was named to the All-Summit. I've been calling it the Horizon League, I'm sorry. It's the Summit League. The All-Summit League team, and the 2nd time to the first team. Now, Sammy Feller, let's read a little bit about her. Feller extended her streak of earning first team honors to 5. So every single year she has been at DU, she has had a first team, all-conference first team. That's really saying something. Despite missing the final 2 matches of the regular season, she had at least a share of the team's lead in assists and points, 18, and was tied for 2nd in most goals, 6. So that is incredible. She's scored over 100 goals in her DU career, which is really saying something. So some real quality women's athletic competition going on here in Denver. Hopefully you'll get a chance to go down and check them out. If not, you can at least watch it. I'm not sure if this will be covered on any of the TV stations for next week with the championship game, but we'll be covering it for you. So tune in with us and we'll let you know how it turns out. All right, folks. Well, it doesn't look like Seth's going to be able to make it up here. The place has just gotten really busy. Again, I want to invite you guys to come to the Brothers Bar and Grill, the shops in Northfield. We're located just north of I-70 between Quebec and Central Park exits. Come on over and check us out. For you folks that are looking for evergreen trees, we've got the best company in the Northeast, Forever Green Farms, run by Scotty Howard. You can reach him at 607-227-3500. He can ship any size evergreen from 10 to 12 foot, all the way up to 35 footers, anywhere in the country. They're digging trees right now. They have a couple more weeks left in their season, and then it will get too cold to dig the trees, and you don't want to damage them when you're taking them out of the ground. That's when things happen, when some of these other tree brokers out there will be digging trees, and then they'll ship the trees out, and the tree ends up dying because they didn't remove it correctly. Go with Forever Green Farms. They know what they're doing, and they can get you the trees that will last a lifetime. All right, folks. Well, again, Seth will be back next week. Hopefully, everything will be great. We're gonna concentrate a little bit more on the college hockey. We may talk a little NHL. We'll of course cover college football, NFL football, and we'll find another great piece to feature for women's athletics. Thanks again for tuning in, folks. Come back again next week. We'll be here at 10:30 at Brothers Bar and Grill in the shops at Northfield. We have a couple people that came today. Thank you guys for showing up. They're sitting over there quietly. You guys are allowed to cheer. Yeah, there's nothing to cheer about with the Syracuse game. Yeah, they're Syracuse fans, so they're not very happy right now. I know, it's terrible. Anyways, get out there. Have a great week, folks. Work that side hustle and earn it. We'll see you next week. Thank you.